Welcome to Noise Violation Podcast. Today we have the living relationship with Fatima and Shane. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah. Happy to be here.
So how did y'all get into the relationship niche or category? What drew you to that?
Well, I think it really started with our relationship. And, it started, I guess where it really started was with all the bad relationships from the past. But, I think, and I'll share my experience. And, I think what happened was we both experienced a lot of drama, a lot of chaos, a lot of non-commitment, a lot of struggle and frustration and defeat, and are we ever going to meet anybody? And I think, this is something we both experienced. And then when we got together and the way our relationship unfolded and the, certain principles that it unfolded along and a certain level of consciousness that we brought to it, I think we both went through enough in the past to really be clear about what we were looking for. And we kind of met at the same place, and we were able to consciously create our relationship rather than just kind of fall into it. And I think a lot of people just fall into it, and then they get in situations they don't want to be in, and they're like, why am I here? Why is this happening? And so our experience of that, and then looking around at what was happening for other people, and we kind of had a conversation one day. I said, we really need to show people how we did what we did so they could do it too, because people are getting into a lot of problems. And I think the way we went about consciously creating our relationship allowed us to navigate through a lot of problems that other people aren't necessarily getting through or are really struggling with. So I guess that would be the origin of it.
Yeah. So as you're going through those relationships, I guess the bad ones, if you want to say, they're just reminders of what you didn't want. So I guess what are the common complaints or topics that people bring up to you saying, oh, I hate this about my relationship? Is there common threads or common problems that people have?
Well, you want to take that one? Or?
Yeah, we work a lot also with people that are in the dating scene or just starting to date or within the first 6 months of dating somebody. And a lot of what we hear is like, he doesn't want to commit, or how do I get him to commit? Or how do I even meet a conscious person? There's not anybody out there. There aren't enough good ones out there. The good ones are taken, and a lot of guys don't want to have commitment. So we hear a lot of kind of the same story, and we know that that's just absolutely false, because we created our relationship, we found each other, and we knew we could not be the only people out there that were looking for this. The very fact that we're looking for it means that there has to be someone else looking for it. So, and we attract a lot of women that are looking for it. So it's like, you're not the only ones out there. You're not alone. So we try to allay people's fears about oh, there's no one out there for me. And we work with them from the beginning. So what does it mean to have a conscious relationship? What does that mean when you're looking for a conscious relationship? How do you recognize one? How do you recognize someone who has the qualities and the characteristics that would have you create a conscious relationship with somebody? And how do you work through that from the beginning? So someone may not even necessarily know oh yeah, I want to have a conscious relationship, but they may have some certain qualities and values and principles that they want in their relationship. And how do you communicate that so that you can see if the other person's on board with you? And then you go step by step. It's not something, like we said, it's not something that we fall into. It's something that you create step by step, and anybody can do it. So I think, especially in dating, those are the concerns that we address, that we work with people on. And then it's about also empowering. It's an empowering experience, getting to know, like, these are the qualities that I'm looking for. This is what I want from a relationship. This is the kind of partner I want. And then how do I ask for that? Or how do I bring it up to the person that I'm dating? And how do we have these conversations so that when issues come up or when problems come up, we can meet on a level and talk about them in a way that we both get what we want. And I think that's most of what we work with. And then on as the relationship moves forward, like how to deal with challenges and with other issues that come up in the relationship.
Yeah, so I have a couple friends that have been through a couple struggling relationships where, you know, I live in Austin, which got labeled the ghosting capital of the United States. So I guess there's people going through these, like a serial relationship. And so is there some steps you take before you get in a relationship or before you start dating to prepare yourself, or do you just go on a lot of dates and try to figure it out as you go along? How does that beginning phase look, where kind of like y'all went through, is, you know, you had some rough relationships and then finally it hit you that, you know, I don't want to keep doing this. I guess, what did it look like for y'all to say that you wanted to get in this conscious relationship?
Well, you know, I think it's funny because a lot of the people we work with start going around saying, I'm going to have a conscious relationship. And, you know, and I love that, but that's not something we did, you know, like a conscious relationship is something we kind of came up with after the fact, looking back on it, like, you know, like we created a conscious relationship. So we didn't really know that's what we were doing until after we had done it. But, you know, I think the process, at least for both of us, because we have obviously talked a lot about this, but I think it was yeah, like experiencing a lot of what we didn't want. But, and I don't know why, you know, it's like the big question, why do some people handle things one way and other people handle them another way? You know, I don't know why, but a lot of people experience these things and get defeated by it. And they go like, this is all that's out there. This is all, the way it's always going to be. This is all on it, you know? And I think both of us just had this sense of like, no, there's gotta be something better than this.
Yeah.
And I think that caused us to dream about, well, how could it be? You know, what could it be like? And because we were doing that, we were looking at the relationships we were in, or, you know, entertaining or considering from not a place of like, I have to hang on to this, right? A lot of people get into a relationship and think I have to hang on to this. But rather than getting into that, we were more like, is this what I really want? And both of us, you know, in our past made conscious decisions to end relationships that people might have said were good relationships, you know, like on the surface, like it was a good relationship, but I think we were both kind of coming from this place of like, you know, I'm really clear about what I want, and this is a good person, you know, but it's not really the relationship that I want. And I think that's something that we both kind of shared, but we found not everybody has, you know, and so that's the mindset that we work to cultivate with people, rather than just like, I just want to find somebody and fall in love and live happily ever after. It's more like, well, let's take a step back and let's really think about, what do you want in a partner? What do you want in a relationship? And don't just go out and find somebody, go out and find the somebody. You know, and that's kind of where we come from with this.
Yeah, because I don't see any of my friends or anything, no one has like the same relationship. So when somebody says a good relationship or a typical, I just want a good one or something, it's like, I have no idea what they're talking about, because it seems like everyone's relationship's different. And so to figure out what that individual person wants may be something different than what, you know, somebody else wants. So, so is that a process that y'all went through together as a couple to figure out, you know, what you wanted out of the relationship? And I guess what would some of those things be that, you know, people don't have and they're striving for, like passion or communication, or what are some of those pillars that build a good developing relationship?
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, number one, I think, and you asked earlier, like, what does someone do to get ready to be in a relationship?
Yeah.
It's being clear about what you want and what kind of relationship you want to be in. So because of my relationships that I'd had in the past that didn't really work out, or I was always stressed out in, or I felt like they were kind of toxic, I knew, like, I want to be in a relationship where I'm important to the other person. You know, I want to be in a relationship where the other person treats me with kindness and with respect, and that when we have problems and challenges, he's not like yelling his head off at me and disrespecting me. He's talking to me like we're both human beings, and we can come together and resolve issues in a non-violent way. And so, like, just being really clear about, I want to be important to somebody. I want someone who's respectful. I want someone who's kind. I want someone who's loving. I want someone who can laugh with me, and so that I don't, you know, get so wrapped up in like my stress that I'm you know, it ends up augmenting our stress together. Like, we can be easy and laugh together. When we met, there was, I wouldn't say like, as soon as I saw him or the first conversation we had, it was like checking off all the boxes. It wasn't like that, but there was something about him that was like, this is really interesting. This is an interesting connection that we have. Let's see. And as we started talking, and as we started connecting, there were qualities that would come up. Like, I could tell he's kind, he's loving, he values hard work, he's ambitious, he wants to change the world, he's got good family values, he's into health and wellness, something very important to me. It's one of my values in life. And so I started to notice some of those things, and, you know, we decided to become exclusive. We got together. And as our relationship unfolded, we were like, well, you know, what is the kind of relationship we want to have? We were long distance for 3 years. He was in Florida and I was in New Jersey. And so we would only see each other every few weeks. So it was like, well, it's really important to me that we can see each other often. How are we going to make that happen? And so the both of us would work our schedules to figure out, okay, when is the next time we're going to see each other? So we both made the relationship important. And because of those challenges, we were like, okay, you know, we want to, because this is an interesting situation, this is how we're going to make our relationship important. We're always going to know the next time, at the end of a visit, we're going to know when is the next time we're going to see each other. And I knew, I would know by things like that he would make the relationship important. And I always felt valued in the relationship because of that. And that was super important to me. I had relationships in the past where I came like absolutely last, forget about second. Like, it was like I was the last resort, you know? And this made me feel good. I had a boyfriend that wouldn't drive to see me. He lived an hour away from me, but he didn't want to take a drive to see me because he didn't want to put too many miles on his car. Oh. And here was a man who lived thousands of miles away from me. And at the end of one of our visits, he's like, I'm looking up flights to come see you next weekend. And I was like, wow, you know, the last guy I was with didn't even want to drive an hour. This guy wants to fly 1,200 miles to see me. That's amazing. This person's like really serious. And so it's not always the words that people say. It's like their actions and their attitudes and how they show you that the relationship is important. And like, that was one way that I knew, like, this is it for me. Like, this is the kind of partner I want to be with. He considers me in his decisions, and it's important to him that I know that I'm important to him, among many, many things.
Well, and I think to a certain degree, we were both really clear about what we wanted. And to another degree, there were things that still needed to be clarified. So, you know, a lot of people who come into our courses are like, okay, I want to get it all clear, so I just know, and it's just like check off the boxes. And we're like, well, it doesn't really work like that. Like, you know, get as clear as you can now. And then there were a lot of things that came up in our relationship, like there was a t-shirt I used to wear that she didn't like.
Right.
And, you know, that was like, that was one of our first challenging conversations we had, where she's like, I really hate it when you wear that t-shirt, and I just wish you wouldn't wear it. And, you know, that was like something that's the kind of thing you can't prepare for,
Right.
you know? But I think what we had in our relationship was this natural way of communicating. And because we just made a habit of talking about what was important to us, you know, we came to the relationship with a certain amount of clarity. And then from there, we continued to clarify things with each other, you know. And so there's something you said about, you know, you want to be able to have a disagreement without screaming at each other. And I think something we've always practiced is like talking about what's going on from a cool place, you know,
Right.
and like being open to listening and hearing and sharing. And we certainly haven't always done it perfectly, but I think because we started the relationship with this level of consciousness about, like, we're both looking to create something special. We're both clear about what we want. We're both asking for what we want. And because we started the relationship in that way, it's been very easy, the things that we weren't clear about, to clarify them together. And, you know, a lot of people we see get into relationships and uncomfortable stuff comes up, but they don't talk about it. They don't discuss it. They don't speak about it. They don't share about it. They don't ask for what they need. And then it just builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. And because they've never worked out that skill to talk about it and to share with each other and to ask and to support, and because they've never practiced that skill, when it does come out, it comes out in these blow up fights that, you know, are just almost impossible to overcome. So
Yeah.
I think it's, go ahead. Yeah, we've been talking a lot.
So when you're doing that, when you're communicating and getting on the same page, is that something that you do in the moment, or do you schedule time to go over things?
I mean, usually it happens in the moment, and like, I think there have been times where if it's been like a really big thing, it's been like, that's all we did that day, you know, was we just sat on the couch and worked it out. But, you know, I mean, it usually happens in the moment. I can't think of a time when we ever had to schedule something. I think there are times when we've had to say, like, we just can't talk about this right now, you know. So, and then for whatever reason, and so we would come back to it later. But, you know, for the most part, it comes up when it comes up, and we deal with it then, I think, you know.
Yeah, and you know, when people ask us too, it depends on the relationship, because if it's not always an opportune moment to talk about things that are really challenging, but you don't want to let the moment pass either. So you know, it doesn't usually happen like that for us, but if it were to happen, we'd be like, can we make some time to talk about this later? Because I think that there are some really important points here, and we would both have an agreement to do that. We've also, you know, sometimes women come and they say, you know, like, I've been having this challenge, but he's always kind of like always busy, or he's always running out the door, or I don't know how to bring it up. And we recommend that you say, listen, you know, I have some things I want to share with you. Can we make some time tonight or tomorrow night to discuss that, and make an agreement about when you're going to talk about it, in case the other partner is like somebody who's frazzled or maybe not as used to having these conversations. We just like to get it out of the way, because the faster we resolve whatever's coming up, the quicker we can get back to enjoying our time together. And we just love that. So we love to be able to get it out of the way, so we have the rest of the afternoon or the rest of the night to enjoy each other and to enjoy each other's company. And that's not kind of hanging over our head. We don't really like to let things linger for too long.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are all kinds of relationships too, and we recognize that this just happens to work for us. And I think it's always best too, because then I don't like to go to bed upset about something or with something hanging over our relationship. So, you know, we've just come into the habit of, as soon as something comes up, we want to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if scheduling is what it takes, you know, if maybe somebody is listening to this, if scheduling is what it takes, then schedule it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think what's important is that the conversation is being had, and the mechanism for getting there is less important than the fact that it happens. So if you have to schedule it, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's always one of those awkward conversations probably that you don't want to have, and so just bringing something negative up about the other person seems to always, I don't want to hurt their feelings, or I'm not trying to make you change, but this might be affecting me, and so the way that you bring it up seems to be it's always a touchy subject. So I know that we're kind of like you, my fiance and I, if there's something, we always kind of handle it in the moment, and then just like to move on. And so always try to have a clean slate, and so that's good to hear. But what if you're dating and you have like non-negotiables, whether it's kids or marriage? How do you bring that up? Is it on the first date? Do you wait? How do you have that conversation with somebody?
You want to take it? Or?
I was just going to say, we recommend, especially with something like kids or marriage, to bring it up early on in the relationship. You might not want to bring it up within the first 5 minutes of a date, but as you're getting to know each other and being like, are you interested in having a long-term relationship? I'm looking for a long-term relationship. As you're getting that out of the way at the beginning of dating, I think we always say it's best to handle it on the front end. That was a big concern for me when we first got together, and very, very early on, I said, it's really important to me to have children. How do you feel about that? And we kind of explored it together. I think it's also really important not to make the other person wrong if they don't choose that. This is what's important to me, and I'm letting you know, is that something that you're open to and that you would want to have in your relationship? And let the person reply from whatever their viewpoint is. And if they're not looking for that, like, thank you very much, I respect that, but that's really not going to work for me. I think when we think we can change the other person's mind about whatever the non-negotiable is, I think that gets us into trouble. So that's one of the reasons why we suggest people bring it up right at the beginning, because it prevents having to have that emotional attachment that later makes you think like, oh, maybe they'll change their mind later, or I'm too invested now to give up. So if you know what you're looking for and you put it out on the front end, chances are you clear it up, and you're better able to make a choice from there.
Yeah, I think there's a fundamental mindset where people go wrong here, and it's coming at it from, how do I get this person to like me, or how do I get their approval, or how do I get them to want to see me again? And like, as soon as you start heading in that direction, you're off track. And it really, and it's so, I mean, I've done it. Both, yeah, it's so easy to fall into. But as soon as you start going down that track, like, you're off track, because now you're basically disempowered, because you're like, okay, so I'm going to be whoever you want me to be, rather than I'm going to be me, and you either are on board with that or you're not. And so I think, like, even with commitment, with kids, with things like that, a lot of times people will be like, oh, well, I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to scare them off, or, what if they don't want the same things? And it's almost like, if I could just get them to like me, then I can sneak the kids in later. Then, if I could just get them to like me, then I can sneak the commitment in later. And it's like, that is going to blow up in your face every time. It's like, we had the discussion where she's like, I want kids. And I'm like, well, okay, I don't necessarily want kids. Like, I don't sit around and dream about having children at that time in my life. That's not where I was, but I was like, okay, I get that that's important to you. I get that, like, that's a non-negotiable for you. So I'm really clear going into this relationship that if we're together years from now, and we're building a life together, having kids is going to be a part of that. And I agreed to that on the front end. So and it was like, that could have scared me off. I could have been like, sorry, no kids for me, see ya. And that was a risk she was willing to take.
Yeah.
So
I was really clear, and I was clear with him too. It didn't mean that he wasn't a good person. It didn't mean that, you know, I didn't like him. It just meant this is what I'm looking for. This is the kind of relationship I want to be in. I still want to be a mother. Are you on board with that? If you're not, that's okay, but we're just not going to be in a relationship, because I'm really clear that that's what I want in a long-term relationship. So, and I think it's really important to, I think it's really important to bring it up in the beginning, because it establishes a baseline for the relationship, and then nobody feels hoodwinked. You know, it's like, well, you didn't tell me, or I wasn't sure, and now it's like it's gone too far, and now you don't know what to do about it, and it creates a lot of issues later. And it's the same thing with bringing up issue. You may not bring up issues like, I want to make sure that we communicate 100% with respect, like right on the first date. But as situations come up, and uncomfortable things happen, or you need to have some of those uncomfortable conversations, if you sweep it under the rug and you go, oh, I don't want to rock the boat, I don't really want to say anything now, it just creates a bigger issue later on. You know, it's easier to bring it up as it's happening, rather than letting it build up, and then a year down the line, years down the line, it comes up and it's a total blowout. You don't know how to work through it. So we like to take the approach of, you know, as stuff comes up, bring it up. And if you feel really strongly about something, bring it up and have a discussion about it. Doesn't mean that you necessarily have to make a decision right then and there, but at least bring it up and be having a conversation about it, so you both can get on the same page, or at least learn what the other person is feeling about it.
Yeah, so talking to y'all, I get it very clear that y'all are conscious and you know what you want. It's like there's a theme that it's, you know what you want, and if something happens opposite of that, you're very aware of it. And so I guess, how did you get so in tune or clear on what you wanted? Is that something that you wrote down, or just over time you developed just the bad relationships, so then you knew you wanted to go the other way? How did you get so clear on what you wanted?
well, I think it's actually, you know, anytime you experience something you don't want,
Yeah.
that gives you a really awesome clue about what you do want. You know, and the way we talk about it in our courses is like, if you have a pendulum, the pendulum swings to one side, it's going to swing equally to the other side. So everything that's ever happened, if you look back on your relationships, and every time somebody's lied to you, cheated you, anything that's ever happened, like disrespected you, dishonored you, put you down, like there is an equal opposite to that. So if you look at what you don't want, and you can clarify what happened that you didn't want, you just swing the pendulum to the other side, and you can clarify exactly what you do want. Mm-hmm. What most people do is they look at what they don't want and they just keep talking about it. And then they tell their friends about it. And then they post on social media about it. And then they tell their mom about it. And then their mom reinforces it and says, oh yeah, that happened to me too. And before you know it, they're talking to everybody about it, and everybody's talking to them about it. And they've created this whole reality where that's what exists. And that's all there is. And everywhere they go, that's all they see, that's all they think about. And every time they go on a date, they're sitting there going, is this person going to do what that person did? And they've created this whole mental reality of where this is what it's like. This is how, and that's all that exists. And it's simple, but I know it's not easy, because, you know, we all have addictive thinking.
Yeah, there's actually, I know there's Facebook groups of like Bumble nightmares or Tinder nightmares. And so the girls just trash the guys saying, don't date him or don't do this. And so they're just reading that like all day, just all these nightmare stories. So kind of like,
yeah.
Wow. But if you can take that and we use it, you know, if you can take those bad experiences or those negative experiences and really get clear, okay, I get it that I don't want this, okay? I don't want this kind of person. Well, what does that translate into that I do want? And I mean, you mentioned like, did we write it or whatever? After every bad breakup, I just wrote. I was used to keep a journal, and I was a prolific journal writer, and I would just write like pages and pages about the kind of relationship I did want, because I was so tired of the relationship that I didn't want. And when I go back sometimes and I look at some of my entries, I'm just like, wow, you know, I got really clear. And the more you affirm what it is that you want, the more you have like radar out there that you can recognize the person when they show up in your life. But if all you're doing is going, I don't want this, you're like, all men are like that, and I don't want that, and I don't want this, and I don't want a relationship like that, I don't want to feel like this, you're never actually affirming what you do want. So even if it shows up in your life, you're not even going to recognize it, because you're so focused on what it is that the experiences you don't want, the kind of person you don't want, the kind of dating life you don't want. So I think it's a really powerful practice. And it's interesting because, you know, a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm afraid to daydream about it because it's not going to happen anyway. And they won't even let themselves go there and imagine their ideal relationship. But that is like 100% probably one of the best places to start, because we've all had bad experiences. We've all had relationships that we don't want. We've all had been part of negative behavior patterns that we don't want to have in our relationships. And then to take that, it's actually empowering to be like, okay, I don't want that. This is what I want, and this is the kind of partner that I want to have, and this is what we do, and this is how he talks to me, and this is the kind of relationship that we have, and just keep dreaming about that. You know, my clients, I always recommend that either they journal about it, or they do a vision board about it. They get creative with it and like really get that kind of image in their mind, because it's just it just creates an awareness of it, of when it does show up. And then you get that intuitive sense like, this is interesting. Wow, I kind of like that. Wow, I've kind of been looking for this. Like, let me explore this a little more. And I think it really works.
Yeah, and I think, what is it? Is it like a fear that's holding people back? Because I know it's like some people who have been in a relationship and then were in love, and then they broke up. It's like so painful that that they're scared to go back. Or I guess, how does somebody overcome that, the pain? Like, they know what love is, but they're scared of it now.
I think, you know, there are a few things, and one is I think allowing yourself to dream, and like you like you just said, people won't even allow themselves to daydream about it, and it's so true. Like, people won't even allow themselves to think about what it might be like, you know, because out of fear, or out of just like the judgment of themselves, like, that's unrealistic. Why would I waste my time thinking about something that's unrealistic, you know? So I think allowing yourself to dream is a huge part of overcoming that hurt. You know, time is part of it. Like, if you've had a broken heart, it's going to take time. There's no way around that, you know? So I think time is part of it. I think part of it is choosing to put yourself in positive environments.
Absolutely.
You know, if you want a conscious relationship, but you're surrounded by friends who just trash talk men, and you're in a Facebook group where everyone's posting about their bad dates, and if your entire environment is telling you how impossible it is, and then you say, well, I want that, but everywhere you look, you're just having people tell you how impossible it is, like, the chances of you having that are like, you're never going to have that, you know? Like, it's got to begin with you making some conscious effort to get out of that cycle. So, you know, it's like, when somebody wants something enough, and like, when somebody wants something enough, they'll do anything to get it. Go ahead. Yeah.
You're right. That's the key, right? They have to want it. It's like, you have to want it so bad that you'll do anything to get it. And it's like, I feel so bad for the people who don't want it. And so it's like, they'd rather be miserable or single, or not that being in a relationships, I mean, you can see both sides of it, but you know, it's just some people, they try to be in a relationship, and then they just you know, have a breakup or a bad breakup, and then it happens over and over, do you think it's that person and they're attracting the wrong people? Or do you think they've just dated the wrong people? I know it's kind of a tough question just because it's case by case, but because I kind of believe in like the law of attraction. So you gotta deserve what you want. So if you want a great guy, I mean, you have to be a great girl to deserve that great guy, and vice versa. And so you have to do the work to become that person who would date that person or be with that person. And so I guess part of y'all's job is kind of dealing with people who have gone through some of that. So how do you talk to people about, you know, maybe it's not their relationships, maybe it's you and you need to change? Like, are those some of the conversations you have to have with people?
Well, I mean, yeah, we
100%.
we certainly do. And I think, you know, it's not, here's the thing is nobody's broken or nobody's bad. Like, I think it can tend to have people feel like you're saying there's something wrong with them when you go, well, you're the one who's attracting all these relationships, so what's up with you? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, I think there are genuine good people that just have some negative stuff around relationships. And so even though they're genuine, good, honest people, they're just attracting horrible relationships over and over again. So it's not like, well, you're a bad person and that's why you get bad relationships. It's not like that. It's like, okay, so if you're the common denominator in all these relationships and they're showing up the same way again and again and again, you've got to acknowledge that, like, you must be doing something or being some way or putting something out there that is drawing this in again and again. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, but it does mean that you're probably doing something unconsciously that you don't want to be doing. You know, so it's really about discovering what is that, you know, what are those beliefs that you're living your life from? What are the bad habits in terms of, you know, the way you're putting yourself out there, whether it's on dating apps, whether it's with men or with women, or, you know, like, what are the beliefs? What are the bad habits? And like, it is, like you said, law of attraction. It's kind of just, you know, call it law of attraction, call it karma, call it what comes around goes around, you know, but it's kind of this universal principle that whatever's coming into your life, you're inviting that in some way. And so, you know, it's not accusing you like you're all screwed up and that's why you have screwed up relationships, but it's like, let's investigate, you know, let's figure out what you're doing, how you're being, what you're thinking that is constantly bringing things to you in that same way over and over again.
Yeah, and we work a lot also on, you know, where is the focus? Because I think a lot of people go out dating or like thinking, you know, if I find the right person or if I get the right relationship, then I'll be happy, you know, and really working, like, that's a belief too, you know, thinking about like those belief systems. So when you're going around like chasing a relationship because you think it's gonna make you happy, rather than recognizing, like, I'm gonna be the best version of myself and live the best version of my life. And that's going to attract the right person into my life. It's going to attract the right opportunities to meet that person in my life. It's going to attract the right environments for me to be in. Like, that is so key in what we teach people. And it doesn't sound, it, like, of course it sounds logical when we speak it out loud, but most people are living their life chasing their happiness or chasing the relationship or chasing a career rather than being the person that relationship or that career or that happiness makes sense for, you know? So that is a huge part of the law of attraction, is like being the person that the person you're looking for is looking for, you know? And a lot of that is being clear about, like, what is the kind of relationship I'm looking for? What are the qualities of the person, this relationship that I'm looking for? And like, what in my life is just not speaking to that? So Shane gave the example before, like, if you want a conscious relationship, but you constantly put yourself in positions where everyone's putting down relationships and putting down men and like constantly reinforcing the negative beliefs and thought patterns about relationships, you're probably not going to have a conscious relationship. So recognizing, like, where in my life do I have to detox some of that? Like, I want a conscious relationship. Let me start hanging out with people that are exhibiting those positive qualities of the person that I want to, that I want to attract. And that's going to make me be a certain kind of person. And then I'll find myself in having opportunities and in places where I can meet the kind of people I actually want to meet. So it's a really holistic program, and the things that we teach are really centered around, like, I keep using detox, but it's kind of like a mental detox and detox your life kind of thing, because it shifts your awareness into the areas that you should be focusing on, rather than reinforcing those areas that maybe are contributing to not having success.
Yeah, that's great. I 100% agree with all of that. What does your course look like? What you said, you mentioned you're mainly you're to the dating, the people just getting into dating. Is that your main target?
Yeah, so we primarily we work with women. I do coach men, but as far as our work together, we primarily work with women. And we work with women specifically who are looking for the man of their dreams, who are looking to create a lifelong, committed, conscious relationship with their ideal partner. And so, you know, most of the work we do coach couples, and like I said, I coach men too, but most of the work we do is really geared towards that person who's out there going, like, I'm ready to meet the man of my dreams. How do I find it? And our course, we have several courses, but our introductory course is called a Crash Course in Love. And that is really like the foundations of creating a conscious relationship, worthiness, confidence, clarity, you know, knowing what you want, knowing the principles and the values that you're looking for in a partner, like really establishing that identity of, like, yes, I deserve this, I'm committed to this, and I will have this. You know, it's really, that's like kind of our introductory course, is just getting on that basis of, yes, I know what I want, I deserve to have it, and I will have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So you're focused on the mindset. Like, you want the people to change their mindset from whatever it is, the bad spiral that they were in, to seeing the good, perfect relationship at the end, and trying to visualize that and solidify it and get clarity on it.
Yeah, and to really believe that it's possible too. You know, I can't tell you how many times it's like, oh yeah, that's good. I love everything you say, but I don't believe it's possible for me. You know, so even working with people that to just affirm and let them know, like, absolutely, this is 100% possible for you. You may not be able to see it right now, but it absolutely is there. And to have that like trust and that hope that if I keep my focus set on that it is going to show up in my life. I don't have to feel defeated every time I go on a date, or I don't have to feel frustrated about dating. I could actually enjoy it. I could actually have fun with it. It could actually be a really great experience. And in the process, I'm living my passionate life. I'm living the life of my dreams, and I know I'm going to meet the person as I'm doing that in my life. So I think we really seek to empower women, especially to believe in that and believe in themselves, because it's absolutely 100% possible for everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, in terms of our programs, you know, the first, we have 3 programs that you do, you know, first, second, third. And the first program is really about establishing that identity, establishing that, yes, I can have this, I deserve to have it, and I will have it. The next program is really about, okay, so how do you do it? You know, what are the skills you need? What are the strategies? How are you going to make this happen? Mm-hmm. And then the third program is really about, okay, you know, time to make it happen. So our third program is really like a lifestyle program where our main focus is passion, really, which is, you know, live a passionate, fully expressed and fulfilled life. Live a life where you are putting yourself in the environments where you would meet the person you want to meet naturally and effortlessly, And when you're in those environments, you're being the person that the person you're looking for wants to meet. So it's like really, you need to be in environments where you are pursuing your passion and you're exhibiting the qualities, those best parts of yourself that your ideal partner is out there looking for. So when you see them, they go, oh yeah, there she is, or there he is. It's like, okay, got it. And that's really the goal, right? Is to get there to meet that person. So
yeah, that's great. It's good that y'all are doing that and have such a giving mission to help people out there, because I know when you're trying to find somebody, it's always difficult. You can spend years in bad relationships, just dating and trying to find that right person. So having people out there like y'all, helping people speed up that process, or even find a better partner than maybe they would have. So I congratulate y'all on your mission and doing that work. So
thank you.
Yeah, we love it. It's really great. It's great noticing everybody's growth and to see them go from the introduction all throughout our courses and actually make it happen in their life. It's really fulfilling.
And we know how it feels. It's like, I remember like coming home from a bad date or being on a dating app and, getting ghosted and, like getting really into someone and then having her say, I just see you as a friend. And, I remember all the feelings. I remember going to bed alone and seeing all my friends be in relationships and wondering like, am I just going to be alone my whole life? And I think, if I had somebody share with me then the information that we're sharing now, it would have been like, oh, like that's really, really good to have that, because I didn't. And, fortunately, I think we both did a lot of work on our mindset and, not necessarily, we weren't going to relationship courses, but we were going to personal development trainings and we were growing. And so fortunately we did have the support we needed to get the right mindset. And I wish somebody had told me how this applies to relationships. We kind of had to figure that out ourselves.
Figure it out.
Yeah. So I guess once you're in a relationship, to sustain that and to increase it, what do you think about counseling? Is that a good thing to go to a counselor or a relationship therapist, or what's y'all's take on that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We both worked with coaches. Actually, we worked with a couple that were husband and wife who were coaches, and then he coached me and she coached her, and we worked with both of them for about 3 years, and that really helped us during that period of time. That was when we were figuring out our relationship, when we decided to get married, even through actually getting married and moving in together. So, if we hadn't had them, like, I think things would have been a lot more challenging. I think they really helped us figure some things out.
Whatever form it takes, whether it's, a counselor, a marriage counselor, or a therapist, or coach, or whatever kind of support. I think any kind of support is actually really, really helpful in relationships, because we don't always have the skills to get through things on our own. And we might be like, oh, let's figure this out by ourselves. And that's fine. The attitude and the intention is really great. And it always helps to have an outside perspective, or someone you can go to, like someone that you can go to just to run things by and to help see some of the gaps. We both have coaches. I continue to have a coach, and like, it's not that we can't deal with our issues in our relationship. We're really good at communicating. And then I have somebody that I trust. She's almost kind of like a mentor. And I talk freely about like stuff that's coming up in our relationship. And she helps me find maybe a different approach or a different perspective that I didn't see before. And it helps, it improves my relationship. I think it's really important. I used to be married years ago, and in another relationship, and I knew our relationship was over when we were having trouble. And my ex-husband at the time just didn't want to go to therapy. He didn't want to explore any kind of outside help. And he's like, I've never been to a therapist and I'll never go. And it was so disheartening for me, because I felt like we really need some help here. I don't really know the answers, and clearly you don't either. How are we going to get through this? And I think it would have helped so much to be able to see anybody, a counselor, a social worker, a marriage therapist, something. And so we always encourage people, like, whatever form it takes, like, start somewhere, even if it's just a relationship book, relationship workshop, a class. Like, we're living in an age where there's so much available in terms of, educating yourself, and like, start somewhere and go from there. We find outside help really, really helpful, like a coach or a counselor. But even if it's just like going to a couples workshop, like, go, because, we can never feel like we have all the answers ourselves. We're constantly learning, and our relationship grows because of that.
Yeah, and I'd also suggest everyone to go check out your Instagram and all the content that you're putting out, because that's great, and you're helping people. Where do you guide people to find out more about your coaching programs and all the content?
Yeah, the best place to connect with us, definitely Instagram. We put a lot of content on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel as well, but so you go to The Living Relationship on Instagram and also YouTube. That'll be a great way to access a lot of our content. And if you go to Instagram, go to the link in our bio. We have a quiz there. Are you ready for a conscious relationship? Take the quiz, and at the end of the quiz, you'll be able to subscribe to our email list. And then that's like the insider relationship there. That's where you get all the good stuff. So yeah, to connect with us, go to Instagram, get on our email list, and you will be the first to know about everything we have going on, and all the ways we can help you create your lifetime love.
Yeah. So. And we have a website too, thelivingrelationship.com. Yes. We have a blog. So if you want to poke around there and read more about how we think about relationships, that's a really great resource too.
Yeah, one final question I had to ask this question was, how do you keep it spicy?
That's everybody's favorite question. We have a lot of date nights. Yeah. Any kind of date nights. So even during the pandemic, when we weren't really going out, we would get really creative and have picnics in the living room, or just set up the table really nice with a good dinner, whatever we made, and like, a glass of wine and candlesticks. And we make time on a regular basis to spend time together. And that's I think really, really important. It's the effort.
Yeah, I think it really literally is that. It's effort. Like, it's, no relationship is going to stay spicy just because.
Yeah.
It's like you do it because it's important. And if somebody, a couple, is like out of the loop, they don't feel like it's spicy, like, what do? Like, I would say set aside one night a week. Mm-hmm. and commit to it. And like, every single week, no matter what, Friday night, Saturday night, whatever, that's our night. And people might be like, well, I have this on Friday night. Like, well, how important is your relationship? Like, that's the thing. Like, there's always going to be something else you could do.
Yeah.
But if you can't take one night a week and dedicate it to your relationship, like, to me, that says, like, I've really got to check in with how important this is to me. So like, if somebody's struggling with that, that's where I would start. Take one night a week, commit to it, and every single week, and then go from there. But like, you got to start somewhere. I would start there.
Yeah, you have to have the intention, and then what you do, like the things you actually do to make it spicy. There are so many ideas, and if people are having a hard time generating ideas, like, Google it. Fun ways to
follow the dating divas on
the
Instagram.
Dating divas. Yeah. But like, there was a time we spent a lot of time apart when we were long distance, and like, I don't even know where I heard this, but I found out about like these love notes. So I just started sending love notes by email, by text message. I started making them up with postcards. Some of them were, you know, sexy. Some of them were, you know, sweet. And I just every day would just send a love note, and like that kept us connected. And that's something really simple. So it doesn't always have to be like a blowout thing. You think you have to have like some huge romantic gesture. It can be something simple like that. And Shane does a really good job of surprising me with flowers every so often. And I absolutely love that. That always makes me like really, it touches my heart. So it can be small gestures, it can be grand gestures, but the point is be thinking about it and be putting effort towards it, because there's so many little ways that you can keep the connection alive and keep the fire alive in your relationship. But what's most important is that you both want to put the effort in.
I love it. Thank you so much, Fatima, Shane, the living relationship. Everything that y'all do, you provide such good advice to people out there. You've literally turned your mess into your message. And so you've struggled and been through what people are going through right now. And so you can help guide them to the relationship of their dreams. And so I hope people go and check out your content, go to your courses and website. So thanks for being on the podcast today.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. We've had a good time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate this. So thank you for having us.